Welcome back to David 360. The argument happening in Ghana right now, my brothers and sisters, the argument between Muslims and then Christians, especially those in the educational sector. This argument is bigger than just one girl or one school. Let's be honest. What we are really seeing is a whole country trying to answer a deeper question. Now, how do we protect someone's personal religious freedom without destroying the very religious institutions that helped build Ghana long before independence? That's a question we must ask ourselves. As a Ghanaian who truly values religious freedom, both in my professional life and my spiritual life, I understand why people are upset. No, for some, religion isn't just something written in a law book. You see, it is part of who we are as Ghanaians, part of who we are as people. Even with that, we have to remember something important, our constitution. The one we all love to quote. It was never designed to give anyone absolute freedom without limits. It was designed to create balance. And that balance, not one group overpowering another. And this is what has kept our diverse country peaceful for so many years. You see, to understand the current tension, we have to start with the basic truth that every major faith tradition teaches. Freedom is real, but freedom without responsibility quickly becomes chaos. Christian reminds its followers that freedom should be lived decently and in order. Islam likewise teaches adab, respectful conduct, especially when you step into someone else's space. In Jewish tradition, freedom exists within a covenant, meaning your personal choices still have to fit inside a shared moral framework. And in our own African traditional religion, Ubuntu teaches that a person is never just an isolated individual. I am because we are. When you look closely, none of these traditions support the idea of absolute or limited personal freedom that ignores the identity of the community around you. You see, and this becomes even more important when someone voluntarily chooses to join a community that was created for a specific sacred purpose. When you walk into a Christian mission school, a Muslim school, or even a traditional shrine-based community, you enter a space shaped by a particular set of beliefs. You may be welcomed with love and respect, but the identity of that space does not suddenly change just because you walk in with your own beliefs. This is why our constitution matters so much in this conversation. You see, many people quote it loudly, but few take the time to understand how it usually works. Yes, the constitution protects freedom of religion. Yes, it protects individuals from discrimination. And yes, it gives everyone the right to express their faith. But it also protects something just as important, the right of religious communities to form institutions like mission schools that reflect their own identity and beliefs. In other words, the Constitution defends both the individual and the institution. You see, what it does not do is to give anyone unlimited right or absolute right to change the character of a community they willingly joined. Mission schools in Ghana didn't appear out of nowhere. They were built by churches who invested decades of resources, prayer, discipline, and sacrifice to create places of formation. Their Christian identity isn't an optional extra. That is the whole reason these schools exist. Even though the government supports these schools today, it has never required them to abandon their mission. And church bodies have consistently reminded the nation that they too have constitutional rights. The right to maintain a Christian ethos that defines their schools. The law recognizes that right. Our democracy depends on that right. And here's a point I want to make, a point that often gets lost. When a student chooses to attend a mission school, knowing its rules, worship life, and culture, that choice is a form of consent. As simple as that. It doesn't take away her dignity or private devotion, but it does mean she cannot suddenly demand that her individual preference override the entire identity of the school. This idea is not strange, and it's not unfair. Many constitutional democracies recognize the same principle. If you voluntarily join a community with a clear mission, you cannot insist that the community reshape itself entirely to suit you. This is exactly why institutional authority matters so much in a country like ours. I say Ghana works peacefully, remarkably, because each community is allowed to be true to itself. Christian schools are allowed to be Christian. Islamic schools are allowed to be Islamic. Traditional communities are allowed to honor their customs. Nobody is forced to erase their identity in order to accommodate another. But imagine what would happen if a single student could legally force a Christian school to dilute its Christian character. It wouldn't end there. The same argument could be used to pressure Islamic schools, Hindu temples, traditional authorities, any group with a distinct identity. Slowly, our beautiful religious diversity will begin to crumble, not out of hatred, but from the erosion of the boundaries that protect each community's freedom. Real diversity doesn't mean every space must bend to every demand. Real diversity means we allow different spaces to exist as they are, so people can choose where they belong. And that is why a reasonable balance is not just possible, it is constitutional and it is fair. A balanced approach would affirm that mission schools have the right to keep their religious identity. They have the right to say that students deserve respect for their personal faith. The accommodation should be made when reasonable, and that if a student truly cannot participate in a school's faith environment, she should have the option to attend a school that aligns better with her beliefs. This approach protects both the students and the institution without destroying either. You see, because the real question Ghana must answer at the end of the day is not about one student or one school. It's about the kind of country we want to be. Do we want a Ghana where every right is absolute, where nobody yields, and where institutions slowly lose their identity? Or do we want a Ghana where freedom is paired with responsibility, identity with respect, and communities thrive side by side without trying to erase one another? My people, our history shows that balance is what has kept us peaceful. Our constitutions was built on that balance, and our future depends on rediscovering it, not just in law, but in our relationship with one another. So as this debate continues, we must remember who we are. Ghana has always been at its best when we choose wisdom over noise, balance over extremes, and respect over entitlement. No nation survives on absolute right. No community thrives when its identity is constantly under negotiation. And no democracy grows when we forget that freedom and responsibility must work hand in hand. If we can protect the students' dignity and honor the school's mission, then, trust me, we will not only resolve this case, we will remind the world that Ghana's peaceful coexistence is not an accident, but a choice we renew every single day. This moment is a real test for us Ghanaians, but it is also an opportunity. And with common sense, fairness, and humility, I believe we are more than capable of passing it. And brothers and sisters, this is David 360. Let the debate continue sensibly. Until I come your way again, have a great day.